Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing missteps, mishaps, or things that just didn't quite go as planned in their marketing efforts, which there's a lot of those stories. I'm your host. I'm Christy Mitchell. I am a marketing strategist, and I work with service-based business owners who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. They know in order to have a greater impact and grow for the future, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I'm super excited to welcome Michelle DeNio to the show. Michelle is a business growth strategist and host of the Real Truth About Business podcast, which you definitely want to go check that out. Side note. With over 15 years of experience across business development, accounting, operations, sales, and leadership, she helps entrepreneurs scale sustainably through her signature focused visionary accelerator framework. Michelle is known for cutting through the noise with customized data-driven strategies that simplify growth, increase profits, and free business owners to build the life they truly want. With that, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so amazing to be here. I'm super excited for this conversation. It's going to be a good one.
I am super excited for this conversation as well. You and I have known each other for a while. I always like to share with listeners. It's been years now. I don't even know how many years, but it all started from LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think it was probably, I think I really jumped into LinkedIn in 2020. So it's probably been about 4 or 5 years now.
Okay. That's so crazy. Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, we have worked together in different capacities. We've referred clients back and forth. I have been a client of yours, which has been wonderful and helping me figure out a lot of things in the earlier days of my business for sure. And it's just been awesome to stay in each other's worlds. We definitely share, I think it's fair to say we share a lot of like synergies and values in terms of like cutting through the noise and like let's get down to business and get down to the real things that really matter. And not just giving kind of blanket advice to everybody. So I know that this is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So when we talked about you coming on the show, we were chatting about some of your experiences, and you've been in business longer than I have. You have lots of marketing stories to share. But one of the things we talked about was, and I know this because we've talked about it in the past, even prior to the podcast, is live launching. And how it just is something that's, you told me it's not my jam. So let's kind of dig into when you were using live launching in your business. Kind of explain, in case those listeners out there, what do you mean by live launching? Let's kind of start at like what you were using it for in your business, and then we'll kind of walk through like what wasn't going well and where did you go from there.
Yeah. So live launching is a process that essentially, when you have like a program that is not open all the time, right? People cannot just sign up and get into your program or work with you or get into your course or something like that. It's got that closed cart. Basically, it's like you get in, and then once the cart closes, the door closes, you have to wait until that next opening to get in. And so in between that period, to fill that, people call it live launching, which usually includes some type of masterclass or webinars. I mean, back in the day, it was webinar and you all knew what was going on. Now maybe it could be a challenge, maybe it could be a workshop or different things, or it could just literally be a launch, like the doors are getting ready to open. It could be a wait list. So it's just basically like the lead up to the doors opening. Then there's usually an open cart process. So that's usually 10 to 14 days. And then the cart closes, and then you're kind of whatever it is out. And so I think for a lot of people, it works really, really well. And there's a lot of data that supports it. There's a lot of data that supports that this method works very well. And so I think the first time I did it, it always stems around business planning, which is at the end of the year, because that is something that I do. It's like I only run it once a year. And that's probably the only time I will do a live launch. But because I only run that once a year, live launching works for it, because it's like it's only in December. It's leading up to it. You create the excitement around it and all of that. And so with that, knowing that it worked for that, I then tried using it into my other programs and different things. And I don't know. It's one of those things where like I kept coming back to it. It was like, man, I just don't get the results that everybody else gets. I don't understand this. And then I'd give up on it and then I'd come back to it. And I finally just gave in to the fact that like I don't get the results because I don't like it. And it's just not me.
Mm.
It's not how I enjoy working.
Yes, and I absolutely love that piece because I think that's something I talk a lot about on this show with guests in different stories that they share is like if it doesn't feel good to you as the business owner, it's not going to get you the results that you want it
No.
to. It's just not going to
No,
land.
I mean, and the thing is with live launching, it requires a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy that goes into it. There's a lot of pressure that goes into it. There's a lot of buildup. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work. You're basically on 24/7 for whatever your open launch period is. I mean, not 24/7, but still, like, because like, you're closing the doors and then there's no further opportunity for people to get in. There's a lot of pressure to do the sales, to send the emails, to do the marketing. And I just don't, that's just not me. I don't enjoy that level of pressure. I don't enjoy that level of promotion. I'm all for running a good sale or a good promotion, but the whole that launching, just launch mode in general is just like visceral reaction for me at this point. It's like, the
Mhm.
more I lean into my human design, I realize I'm like a sacral generator. Like my gut literally was like, no, we're definitely not doing that.
I love that. Oh my gosh, so many ways we could take this conversation. So, one thing I want to share because as someone who started a membership group and a group program a couple of years ago, that was advice that I had taken and it's interesting to have this conversation because I'm honestly like reflecting on my own stuff right now as we're talking about it, but like having a membership that's like an ongoing thing, I was like, I don't want to be selling this all the time because I also still need to sell like my bigger
Mhm.
ticket offer, my one-on-one offers. And so that was advice that was given to me by a membership strategist was like, well, you could open the doors on whatever cadence you want. So like I chose quarterly. And I, kind of like you're saying, it was like, okay, every quarter I'm going to kind of do this masterclass or workshop. And then from there, I'm going to sell, coming into the membership. And so for me, it was like, okay, if I only need to do this 4 times a year and I'm not trying to sell it all the time, that feels a little more doable and realistic to me. So I'm curious and again, going back to what we said, every business owner has to make this decision for themselves and how they want to show up. How did you kind of navigate that? Like, okay, this isn't working, but maybe I also don't want to be selling all the time. Or would you rather sell all the time? Or is there kind of like a happy medium that you
No, I
found?
would rather sell all the time. I really would. I would rather just have one program that is like it's open all the time. Like my program now, my signature program is on Evergreen. It's open all the time. I'm a huge fan of just meeting people where they're at, and I've also been on the receiving end of that. Like even currently, like probably as just as recent as last week, I was like on a wait list for this program, and it was like I was really curious about it. Was really pretty interested in it, and then it's open cart and you only have 12 hours to make a decision, and like the whole pressure of that, like for me, it was like, I'm not in a position I want to make this decision now, right now. It was like coming, it was right around my birthday. I wanted to take time off, like, and now I'm going to be out. They're only opening this once a year. The timing wasn't necessarily right. Like, I wasn't sure I really wanted to make that big of an investment right now. And so it's just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but I could be ready 3 months from now. And I understand the closed cart. And I do understand that from a camaraderie standpoint, from a community standpoint, getting people all in, getting people to get to know each other. And there's just this like when people are popping in and out. So I definitely think it really depends on business, like your business model and your setup and how you run your programs. But for me, what I found with the live launch is I always would give up like halfway through my launch because my energy would get exhausted. I would feel like I'm sick of talking about this. I'm sure everybody else is. You start to see the unsubscribes coming in because you're emailing your list all the time. And it's like, I'm pissing people off that I don't really want to irritate, but like they're just annoyed. And so, like, they're potentially going to miss out on really valuable information from me because I'm pressuring so hard right now to do this launch. And I don't like being on the receiving end of it. And so, if I don't like being on the receiving end of it, I often won't do it in my own business because I know that a lot of my
Yes.
clients are very similar to me. And so if I don't enjoy that, I don't want to put that on other people either.
Yes. That is one thing I always love about your advice. And especially, I plugged your podcast a little bit when I read your intro. Like, I love that it's always like the real advice. It's, hey, if you wouldn't want to be treated this way, or you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of this message, like, why would you send it to other people, kind of thing. I totally agree with that. I'm wondering, in this conversation, right? So I'm hearing there's obviously some nuance, right? And I'm rolling this around in my head again as you're talking. I'm thinking like, yeah, my offer has changed, and like, yeah, I could see how I could move to just selling it all the time versus, these open periods throughout the year. So it definitely does depend on what it is that your
Mm-hmm.
offer is, right? If it is truly like cohort based and it's like a set program that we have to go through these things, like you probably kind of have to do a live launch to some degree, depending on how it's structured.
Yeah, I think like I'm getting ready to do a small summer cohort for something that I'm running, and I'm not putting it on my website. I'm not really putting it out there publicly, but for me, it's a cohort of invite only. So like yes, it's a live launch. Like we're starting June 2nd and you're either in, and like if you miss out, like there you can't get back in to this specific cohort in the summer because we're going to run, it's very specific. But I'm also not putting a ton of launch energy around it. I'm not doing a masterclass. I'm not doing anything. It's all private invite. It's like, hey, here's who this is for. Here's who this is not for. I think it might be something you're interested in because it's just a small group program that I'm really looking to only fill like 10 spots for. So I think, again, I do believe in the cohort base, but I also think that there's ways you can fill cohorts without doing live launch. You can create wait lists. You can create, you can have open and close cart and then just simply have a wait list all year long. So now you're, instead of selling the program, you're selling the wait list all year long or in between those periods. And so the energy is not, it's just like, hey, by the way, if you think this might be something you're interested in, hop on the wait list. And then you can make your decision when the doors open or whatever. So I think there is a lot of ways that you can still have cohort based that don't require the launch energy and all of the emails and all of everything that goes into it.
The social posts.
Exactly. Like that energy, that constant state of needing to be on. That's the energy that I don't really love.
I absolutely love all of these options that we're highlighting, though, for business owners to consider. And if they are of the mind that like, oh gosh, yeah, the live launch thing is really exhausting, doesn't feel aligned for me and my energy and the way I want to show up. So maybe you just have open enrollment all the time if what you're offering lends itself to that. Or I also love this idea you're sharing about having the wait list so that people can sign up for the wait list whenever. And then when you're at the point of opening the virtual doors, then you contact those people. And so it doesn't have to be this constant, right? You're not bugging the people, to your point, what you said earlier about people unsubscribing from emails because you're sending emails all the time getting ready for this thing. It's like, oh, well, it doesn't have to be that way. Now I'm getting people on this wait list. I already know that they're interested. Or I'm guessing, and I know you're so good at this, like your CRM management stuff is like, oh, I had conversations with these people and they might be interested in this thing that I offer. So I'll make sure that I flag them and I can go back with a personalized outreach instead of the blanket message to everybody that sounds like it's draining and maybe it's like pushing some people away, which you don't want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it all comes down to like how much time and capacity do you have, but also just the energy around it, right? Like, I think that's really what it is like, does it light you up? Like, can you get excited about it? Because at the end of the day, from a marketing and sales standpoint, confidence and excitement and like that sells. So if your energy is off or you're feeling drained or you're feeling like it's a drag or people sense that, you know what I mean? Like, even if it's still like, even if you are excited about it. And that's what I found was happening to me. It's like, I'm so excited about this program, but I'm so burnt out by the promotion of it that like, I'd give up. And then there's a perception there that like, well, she doesn't even believe in it and she's not excited about it. Like, why should I? And it wasn't that I wasn't excited about it. It's just, I wasn't excited about the amount of work that was required or the amount of pressure. It's not even that I'm afraid of the work. It's that pressure to like make a decision. Are you ready? Did you have any questions? What do you think about this? There's just a lot of that. And I always try really hard to just be respectful of the fact of like, I might not be ready right now. And that's okay.
Yes. And I love this point that you're bringing up in terms of you are excited about the thing that you're offering because you know that it works and you know it's going to have a positive impact, but then the marketing was making you not be as excited about it. And so it's so interesting to me because I've had like moments in my business where I get that feeling of like, oh, like I got to create more content, or I got to, do this thing or launch this thing or whatever. And I'm just like, and it's those things that kind of shake me back to like, wait a minute. Like, I could have an office hour session with my marketing support group, and that fuels my energy,
Mhm.
right? It's like, okay, everyone showed up. They took away some awesome stuff. And like, it was because of me. Like,
Mhm.
I did that. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I need to channel that energy into the way that I'm showing up for my marketing.
Yes.
So I'm curious, we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, but I would love to kind of build on that topic and how do you, and I know you probably advise, you're not in specifically in the marketing space, but you're in the business coaching space and marketing overlaps. How do you, maybe for your own business and for your clients, help to bring that out? Like, how do you keep that energy and excitement about what you do when maybe the marketing feels tough?
Whenever the marketing feels tough, my go-to is always what worked, right? Like something worked in the past, right? If you've had clients, if you've had, revenue into your business, that means something worked, right? And really looking at like what was it that worked really well. So whether that's having more coffee chats or whether that's more podcast episodes or doing a masterclass. Like I actually love hosting masterclasses. Like I could host a masterclass every single month and be super lit up by it if I didn't have to do all the promotion around it. So like that's the one thing that again, I always look at like what can I do to create some consistency of like, okay, I've got this membership or I'm in this community and as part of my community, you'll get a masterclass every month or something like that, right? Like how can you take what you love and what lights you up and then just modify it a little bit to make sure that it aligns with your energy and it aligns with your goals of where you're trying to go. So I always think like take a step back, relook at like what really worked, what lights you up, where do you want to go with this, like what do you love to do? Do you love to do sales calls, do you love to create content, do you love to have conversations in the DMs, right? Because we've talked about this before. Like every strategy works, right? There's every single strategy works, but they're not all going to work for you. And so you have to put the thought behind it of like, what am I trying to gain from this? How am I trying to do this? And how can I keep this fun? Because if it's not fun, that's what causes a lot of the burnout. That's where people start to burn out. They start to give up. And a lot of it's not because it's not a good idea or a good strategy. It's just simply that like it's just not in alignment with your energy. And so there's always another way. There's always another way. So like if one thing is not working, like just take a pause, go back and think like, okay, what would make this feel a little bit better? What would make this feel easier? What would really make me feel like this was fun? This is exciting. Like I love doing this.
Yes. I want to highlight that quote that you had just in case people missed it. Every strategy works, but every strategy doesn't work for
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Is that it? Did I get it right?
Well, I usually say every
Yeah.
strategy works, but they won't all work for you.
They won't all
Yeah.
work for you. Yes, yes. And this is another thing that you and I are so aligned on is really picking the things that are right for you, which comes back to this other point that you wove in there is like, it needs to be
Mhm.
fun. How is it that you want to show up? And I love what you're saying about the masterclass thing because I'm getting ready to do masterclasses again. I took a long break from them because I did them for a while and they worked great, but I got to the point where I
Right.
just was
Yeah.
feeling burned out by them. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be evergreen. I don't have to do it live. Like it's just going to live on my website, which has been fine. But now I kind of have this renewed energy and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back on the masterclass thing with like a slightly different take on the other one that I had done so much, kind of integrating AI into it, fueling that like fun excitement that I have for it. But masterclasses aren't for everybody, right? Not everybody wants to teach. So to your point, maybe it's going out and getting on podcasts, or maybe it's, leaning more heavily into a social platform, or what is the thing that you have fun doing? That was actually something I realized in my own marketing was when I kind of was getting burned out on the podcast, or I'm sorry, getting burned out on the masterclass. What I realized was I love having conversations with people on podcasts. And so
Mhm.
that's when I started doing like my LinkedIn lives, which then ended up turning into this show, and the rest is history. But
Yeah, yeah, conversations, I mean, I think just in general, like, human interaction is usually what lights me up, and so, again, like, that's where, like, that live launch, there's not a lot of, human interaction around it if you're not going into and doing stuff like, where you're not really having deep conversations and things like that, but, yeah, I think it's just a matter of finding a way that you can position things for yourself, but also for your clients in a way that you feel like, yeah, they do respond to this, and this does light them up, and so, whatever that looks like. And there's just understanding your funnel, right? Like understanding the steps and stages in your funnel and like how do you move people through? And that's really all that matters. And like you can, as long as you're moving people through your funnel, it doesn't really matter what it looks like, right? Like that's the thing. It doesn't really matter what it looks like and what works for me. And what's interesting is like I remember I hated email marketing for a long time. Like I remember when you and I did our power hour, you were like, you need to step up your email marketing. I was like, oh, I hate it. Now, like I love email marketing. Like I probably sent I'm up to like 2 to 3 emails a week. And I know some people think that's too much, but it's like my favorite way to communicate with people just because I found
yep.
a cadence that works for me. And I found a way to communicate and a way to write that really is resonating. And so again, like what something maybe it didn't work doesn't necessarily mean it will never work. It just means that you have to change it up. Just like the live launch, you can still run cohort, but maybe you're just moving to a wait list. So I think it's just a matter of like, again, just being very self-aware and being willing to reflect and go, you know what, I just don't like this. And being okay to
Yes.
admit that too.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's such a great point. You might try something and maybe you don't like it, or maybe you get burned out on it, but you might come back around to it and just approach it through a new lens with a new energy that you're like, oh, okay, now I want to do this. And I do
Mm-hmm.
want to plug, I already plugged your podcast, but I also want to plug your email list because I do love your emails. The Sunday Morning Brew is awesome. Love it. I think that's such a great takeaway for listeners is that you might have tried something in the past and it didn't work, but it doesn't mean it won't work. Maybe you just haven't approached it in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. A simple, small tweak can make a huge difference. And from something that is like a total drag to something that you really love.
Yeah. I love it too because so many of the people who have done power hours with me, like it ends up being like, "Oh, you're not doing email marketing. Like, really need to do email marketing." And then like they'll
Yeah.
joke with me for a while, like, "I know, I still need to get on it." And then once they do, they're like, "You were
Yeah.
right."
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun.
All right, Michelle, this has been an action-packed conversation full of great takeaways. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about or any last piece of advice that you kind of want to leave listeners with from our conversation?
I think from the conversation, like we talked about, it's just be very, very aware and listen to that gut or whatever your decision maker center is in your body, whether that's your mind, your heart, your gut, wherever it is. But like be willing to listen to it. And like if it's really screaming at you and telling you, like, I just don't like this, like listen, because because it will give you the results when you do listen to it, but you can't get the results when you go against it. Right. And that is where I think a lot of people struggle is they push through these feelings of like, I just don't feel like this is right for me, but everybody else says it's amazing. So I'm going to keep pushing through this resistance. I'm going to keep pushing through this. And a lot of times resistance is there to say to you, like, hold up, there's a better way. It's not always a negative. So just lean into the resistance a little bit and really figure out like, where is it coming from? And if it's strictly from a place of dislike, then there's another strategy out there that will work. I promise.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Such a great last lesson to leave everybody with. Very lastly, Michelle, if people want to learn more about you and the work that you do, what is the best way for them to reach out?
Either on LinkedIn or definitely on my podcast. So The Real Truth About Business, that's where I drop all my best content, or my email list. I mean, they all kind of lead to each other. But LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to me personally. But if you want to just kind of learn more about me, I would definitely recommend my podcast, The Real Truth About Business.
The Real Truth About Business, for sure. I love your podcast. So glad that I could have you come on my show.
Yes, thank you.
I have a
I'm
feeling
so
there
excited for
might be
you.
another episode in the future we'll have to reconvene on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.